To become a healer, one must first endure pain, but mere suffering does not make a healer. Suffering alone leaves us stuck in bitterness or despair, and if it were enough, every person who suffers would become a healer. What transforms an ordinary person into a healer is not the experience of pain itself, but how one rises from it, how one wrestles with their wounds, uncovers their meaning, and finds the strength to transcend them. This journey from suffering to self-discovery is central to the archetype of the wounded healer. It is through understanding the deeper cause of one's wounds that one discovers the purpose of one's life. The concept of the wounded healer was famously introduced by Carl Jung, though he referred to it as the wounded physician. Jung believed that healing, whether physical or psychological, must arise from within the individual. Suffering, when unresolved, binds us to our pain, trapping us in a mindset of victimhood. However, when we embrace suffering and integrate its lessons into our psyche, we can use it as a pathway to growth. True healing occurs not when the wound disappears, but when the individual learns to coexist with it, recognizing that the darkness it represents also contains the seeds of illumination. The wound, therefore, becomes both the destroyer and the awakener. It can push us to the brink of despair or compel us to transform our suffering into a source of wisdom and strength. The choice lies within us. One of the most poignant examples of the wounded healer archetype in mythology is Chiron, the wise centaur. Raised by Apollo, the god of healing and light, Chiron mastered the healing arts. Yet, despite his vast knowledge, Chiron himself was struck by a poisoned arrow and left with an incurable wound. His pain was so intense that he could not heal himself, yet this suffering became the foundation of his extraordinary healing abilities. Chiron's story illustrates a paradox. Often, our greatest wisdom arises from our deepest wounds. What set Chiron apart was his acceptance of his suffering. He did not seek to escape it, nor did he allow it to define him. Instead, Chiron transformed his pain into a gift for others. His ultimate act of nobility was to trade his immortality to save Prometheus, who had been punished for gifting humanity with fire, a symbol of consciousness. In giving up his immortality, Chiron was released from his suffering, and Zeus honored him by placing him among the stars as the constellation Centaurus. This myth symbolizes the immortal wound we all carry, the pain that never fully heals, but becomes the source of our greatest compassion and healing power for others. The myth of Chiron leads us to Asclepius, the Greek god of healing and Chiron's most famous student. Asclepius's life, like his teachers, was marked by both suffering and healing. Born under tragic circumstances, his mother Coronis was killed by Apollo for her infidelity. Asclepius was saved from death as an infant by his father, who cut him from his mother's womb. Raised under Chiron's tutelage, Asclepius became such a skilled healer that he could even bring the dead back to life. However, this disrupted the natural order, angering both Hades and Zeus, and Asclepius was struck down by Zeus for his transgressions. Yet death did not mark the end for Asclepius. Recognizing his unique contributions to humanity, Zeus resurrected him and placed him among the gods. Asclepius, having experienced both life and death, became the only deity who had crossed this threshold, making him especially revered. Healing temples dedicated to Asclepius, known as Asclepieia, were widespread in ancient Greece. These temples did more than just cure physical ailments, they treated the soul. Pilgrims would undergo ritual cleansing and purification before entering the healing sanctuaries. Here they would sleep, hoping to receive a healing dream from the god, who was often symbolized by snakes, creatures representing wisdom, rebirth, and transformation. The healing dreams granted by Asclepius functioned much like early psychotherapy, with the subconscious mind revealing paths to inner healing. Even Socrates, in his final moments, paid homage to Asclepius. His last words, "Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius," reflect a profound sense of gratitude for the healing of the soul as he faced the inevitability of death. This acknowledgement underscores the importance of inner healing as a way to prepare for the final transition from life to death. For the ancient Greeks, death was not to be feared, but embraced as an essential part of life. Friedrich Nietzsche echoed this sentiment, emphasizing the importance of dying at the right time, with dignity, hope, and victory over life's struggles. For Nietzsche, as well as for Jung, denying the reality of death only leads to neurosis and disconnection from life itself. By accepting death, we can live more fully, aware of our mortality, yet empowered by it. Jung's psychology often revolved around the tension of opposites: life and death, light and darkness, suffering and healing. The process of individuation, or becoming whole, often begins with a wound or a moment of deep suffering. This journey mirrors the archetypal hero's journey, as described by Joseph Campbell, where the hero must confront the dark forces within and without, ultimately emerging transformed. This concept of suffering as a catalyst for growth is also central to Stoic philosophy. Stoicism, like Jung's psychology, teaches that it is not the events of our lives that define us, but how we interpret and respond to them. As Epictetus famously said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." The Stoic perspective empowers us to view our wounds not as limitations, but as opportunities for self-reflection and personal improvement. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, offers a powerful Stoic principle: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This sentiment perfectly aligns with the idea of the wounded healer. Our wounds, rather than being obstacles, become the very path through which we can grow, gain wisdom, and ultimately heal ourselves and others. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, explored these ideas in On the Shortness of Life. He argued that while life may be short, it is long enough if we use it wisely. Our wounds, though painful, are valuable teachers, offering insights into the nature of life itself. Seneca stated, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This echoes the journey of the wounded healer, who uses suffering to forge inner strength and wisdom. To truly embody the wounded healer and Stoic wisdom in everyday life, we can practice several key principles. Daily reflection. Begin and end each day with intentional reflection. In the morning, anticipate the challenges ahead and commit to facing them with resilience and wisdom. In the evening, reflect on your actions and what you've learned, particularly from any suffering or hardship. Mindful response. Remain present throughout the day, recognizing when you're reacting from a place of fear, pain, or anger. Practice choosing calm and wisdom over impulsive reactions. Gratitude for adversity. Cultivate gratitude for both the joys and the hardships of life. Acknowledge that your wounds have shaped you and view them as sources of insight and strength rather than weaknesses. Fourth, balanced negative visualization. Practice negative visualization, a Stoic technique where you mentally prepare for life's challenges by imagining worst-case scenarios. However, it's important to avoid dwelling too deeply on these scenarios, as this can lead to unnecessary anxiety. Instead, use this practice to cultivate resilience, followed by an acknowledgement of the good that exists in the present moment. Remember, the goal is not to fear the future but to calmly accept it, knowing that you have the strength to endure. The path of the Stoic warrior and the wounded healer converge in the idea that our wounds are not limitations, but opportunities for growth. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This inner strength allows the wounded healer to transcend personal suffering and become a source of healing for others. By embracing Stoic philosophy and the archetype of the wounded healer, we learn to transform our suffering into wisdom, resilience, and compassion. This journey is not simply about personal healing, but about using our experiences to help others heal as well. Like Chiron, Asclepius, and even Christ, we can turn our pain into a source of light, illuminating the way for others who suffer. The time to embrace your own wounded healer's journey is now. Reflect on your wounds, recognizing them as potential sources of strength and wisdom rather than obstacles. Integrate Stoic practices like daily reflection, mindfulness, and balanced negative visualization to cultivate resilience. The more we learn from our suffering, the more we are capable of helping others on their path to healing. If you're ready to explore these principles in greater depth and uncover more transformative insights from Stoicism, subscribe now for more content on Stoic wisdom, personal growth, and the power of turning adversity into strength. Together, we can heal not only ourselves but also contribute to the healing of the world.